Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel, we will bring you some of the best segments produced by Reel to Reel's Steve Kiltonic. These stories and more are just ahead on this summer best of edition of Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel as we continue to bring you some of our best segments and programs from last season. Today we're featuring what you might say is the best of Steve Kiltonic, highlighting several of Steve's pieces that he produced over the last year. We begin at St. Peter and St. Casimir Parish in Westfield, a parish named after its two founding churches that merged in 2003. The former St. Casimir's, founded in 1915 by Lithuanian immigrants, had many memories and old world traditions that folks wanted to preserve. One local author was determined that these strong, so-called ordinary people would not be forgotten. Steve first brought us this story back on April 8th.
Born in Alava, Russia, Kazimierz Metiskevich was 5 feet 8, 175 pounds when he arrived at Ellis Island in 1888. Here, his birth name was Americanized to Charlie Morris. With his dapper dress and handlebar mustache, Morris could easily be mistaken for the 1930s Mr. Monopoly character, Rich Uncle Pennybags. But Charlie Morris's pockets were surely not overflowing with dollar bills when he came to Westfield that year. Morris would be the first Lithuanian on record to settle in the Whip City. Many more would follow in his footsteps in the decades to come. Morris's granddaughter, Joan Morris Riley, has written a book as a tribute to her father Benjamin called St. Casimir's Children, the Lithuanians of Westfield. Riley's first two books focused on the maternal side of her family, whose members lived in the predominantly Irish neighborhood of Hungry Hill in Springfield. Riley is passionate about history and her ancestors.
You know, we're talking about ordinary people here. We're not talking about famous people or anything, but just the hardships that they went through and the caliber of the people is just amazing.
For St. Casimir's Children, Riley relied mainly on the stories of her father and many aunts and uncles. She spent days searching through the archives of the Westfield Athenaeum and utilized Ancestry.com to locate birth and death certificates. Morris's plan was to find work and earn enough money to go back to his wife Josephine and their farm in Lithuania. But he became an American citizen and eventually ended up purchasing a house on Miller Street. Morris found work as a laborer at Westfield's Pope Manufacturing, where Columbia bicycles were produced.
It was hard because there was a language barrier, and so as this little community grew, St. Casimir's Society was the first thing that was formed.
The society had strict rules, governing officers, and even its own constitution. The small group of Lithuanians who settled here were determined to build their own church with their own priest. Beginning in 1905, each family contributed 25 cents a month toward that effort. It would take 12 years before they finally realized their dream. Lithuanians would celebrate Mass at Westfield's Trinity Church, which was primarily for the city's Polish.
My grandfather and several other of the Lithuanians formed a delegation and went to then Bishop Bevan and asked him, they said, we want our own church and we want a Lithuanian-speaking priest.
After the group's fourth visit, Bishop Bevan gave his blessing. In 1915, the parish was established and a hall was constructed on William Street, where the Lithuanians could worship, socialize, and hold important events like weddings.
Everybody pitched in. It wasn't a contractor doing it. It was, but then they did all the finish work, the steps, everything.
The cornerstone was laid on August 1917. Opening ceremonies took place on May 13, 1918. It was a gala affair with 8 uniformed societies, bands, and 20 priests. Attending was the parish's first pastor, Father Konstantin Vasis, a native Lithuanian. Many societies and social groups formed, including the Knights of Lithuania and the Blessed Virgin Solidarity, whose most important activity was crowning the statue of the Virgin Mary each May. The parish also had a Lithuanian dance group that performed at various events. Father Vincent Pudokis can be seen in many photos. He was the beloved pastor who served the longest, 43 years. Riley's grandmother, Josephine, had 9 children, but she also lost 8 babies.
So I found out that I had 1 aunt and 7 uncles who never made it past infancy. A couple of weeks old, couple of months old. It's funny that it was all things like, that are nothing today. Measles, diphtheria.
Riley dedicated her book to her grandmother because of her unwavering courage amidst a constant presence of sorrow.
But I'm trying to imagine constantly getting a baby ready for burial and then having to go back and do all the work involved with other kids. She didn't have an easy life.
Citing changing demographics, the Springfield Diocese closed St. Casimir's in 2003, merging it with St. Peter's, once a Slovak parish. Today it's known as St. Peter and St. Casimir Parish. Here, some of St. Casimir's items can be found, including the statue of St. Casimir and the large cross which was near the altar. After closing, St. Casimir's was turned into a school for troubled youth for a few years. Now it's used as a storage facility for the city. Over the years, groups like the Knights of Lithuania have kept the traditional Lithuanian customs alive. On a snowy Saturday morning, Lithuanian parishioners are gathered in the parish hall to prepare dezhru, or Lithuanian sausage, which is an Easter tradition. Jim and Marcia Rogers were both interviewed by Riley for her book.
This originally started with a ladies' society at St. Casimir's Parish in Westfield, which has been closed. And we just felt that we wanted to keep the tradition going. So we've been doing this project for at least 40 years.
The secret recipe, consisting of pork, onions, and special spices, are prepared the night before. Marcia is preparing the casings. An automatic mixer grinds up all the ingredients quickly. Jim then stuffs the sausage.
This old machine that we have there came from a market, I think, in East Hampton about 100 years ago, I think. But it's the best thing that we have.
The sausage is then twisted tight, not tied, so it doesn't come apart. The finished product is then weighed and bagged for pickup by parishioners. What makes this Lithuanian sausage different?
In the first place, it's not smoked. It's fresh compared to, kielbasa. The spices are much different.
Jim says they'll make about 500 pounds of the sausage on this day, about half of what they used to make years ago. The activity is just a lot of fun for the volunteers.
It's a pleasure. When they get together, it's a lot of fun, which is nice.
With all her books, Riley found similarities in the immigrant experience, whether Lithuanian or Irish. When the Sons of Aaron took over the old St. Casimir's Hall, a plaque was placed in the bar area symbolizing the brotherhood that bonds all immigrants.
Well, I found that they were just ordinary people. The things that seemed to sustain them were faith, family, and America, the promises of America. I'm very glad I did it. I hope my father likes it, and I hope he sees it. Yeah.
Riley hopes her book inspires others to learn more about their own heritage. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
If you are interested in learning more about the Lithuanians of Westfield and would like to purchase the book, you can find it on Amazon or call the author at 413-733-5519. And on Sunday, September 10th, the parish will celebrate the centennial of one of its founding parishes, St. Peter's, with a special liturgy to be celebrated by Bishop Mitchell Rosansky. Our next story involves a lot of clowning around. It's called Circus Smirkus, and it's the only traveling youth circus in the country. It's a place that kids get to learn to hone their skills of flipping, flying, juggling, and clowning. One talented performer from Holyoke Catholic's last official graduating class also graduated from the Vermont-based troupe last summer after the 3 action-packed seasons. Steve Kiltonic returns now with the story we first aired back on September 24th, 2016.
At the 3-county fairgrounds this past summer, the circus was in town. It was filled with death-defying aerial acts, tumbling acrobats, nimble-fingered jugglers, sure-footed wire walkers, and of course clowns to make everyone forget the 95-degree heat outside. But on closer inspection, one can see that these performers are young. Their ages range from 11 to 18. They're all part of Circus Smirkus, the country's only traveling youth circus, which has been entertaining crowds for more than a quarter century. Behind the makeup of this clown in the aviator cap is Cameron Zwier, a 2015 graduate of the former Holyoke Catholic High School. Cam's journey to become a Smirkus trooper actually started with gymnastics at age 7.
When I was a little kid, I used to jump around a lot, climb over trees, and so my parents decided to put me in gymnastics as a good outlet for all that energy. I did floor and vault, which is very acrobatic-y, tumbly sort of skill set, and that really helped me transfer into circus.
In his freshman year at Holyoke Catholic, Cam joined the Performing Arts Club and was the school's spirit leader. But after seeing a Circus Smirkus show called Oz Incorporated, he was hooked.
As I was watching it, I was like saying to myself, oh, I can do that, I can do this is really cool. And so my parents after the show asked me how I liked it, and I said I really enjoyed it.
Psyched, Cam made an audition video and sent it to Troy Wonderly, Smirkus' artistic director and only adult performer.
He was on my A list from the beginning. He was a strong boy, he was a big boy, he was young. He had a very sensitive heart and a kind soul. He seemed to be someone that was extremely passionate about the art of circus, but not afraid of the work that goes into circus as well.
Cam made the final cut and joined 29 others from across the country who made up the 2014 Smirkus Troopers. Each year, the group rehearses for 3 weeks at the Smirkus headquarters in Greensboro, Vermont, before hitting the road. This year's show is called Up, Up and Away, The Invention of Flight. Circus Smirkus travels all over New England and New York. This year, it made stops in 15 cities while performing 66 shows.
My first year, I was mostly just an acrobat. I would do some pyramids, tumbling, and just help out in transitions wherever I could. And this year, I'm definitely more comfortable performing in front of everyone.
Over the past 3 years, Cam has proven to be an invaluable member of the circus.
One of the things that Cam's phenomenal at is his diversity. He's brought on as a real strong bass. He plays character, so you'll see him clowning in our show. You'll see him doing aerial basing as well. He does this gorgeous act that's up in the sky called Cradle, where he flips and manipulates a flyer through the sky in ways that you wouldn't suspect.
This is Cam's last year with Smirkus, and Wonderly says he'll be missed.
He's a big brother to every single member of this troupe, and the little kids adore him, and the older kids still look up to him with full respect. So he's the full package. He is exactly what I look for in a Circus Smirkus trooper.
One of the best things about it is definitely the audiences, their reactions to what we do, their applause, their laughter. We just love to inspire crowds, and that's what we live for.
Over the years, Circus Smirkus has been the training ground for many performers who went on to launch professional careers with big-time circuses like Cirque du Soleil and Barnum and Bailey. While Cam isn't pursuing that avenue, he does have his sights set high on Hollywood.
I'm off to Savannah College of Art and Design in the fall. I will be studying acting and stunt work, and I hope to be a stuntman someday.
A couple of Circus Smirkus graduates have already made it to Hollywood as stuntmen working for a director by the name of Steven Spielberg. Cam hopes to join them one day on the silver screen. For Reel to Reel, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
Looks like a lot of fun, and you can find out more about the performers in Circus Smirkus. We have a link on our website at iobserve.org. St. Mary's High School is a small Catholic school in Westfield, but when it came time this spring for the Western Mass and State Baseball Tournament, the Saints did the unthinkable against teams with a much larger student enrollment. This close-knit squad defied the odds and skeptics all season long, and in the end achieved something no other baseball team from the school was able to accomplish. Steve Kiltonic returns now with a story we first brought you on June 24th.
St. Mary High School has always had a strong baseball tradition, going back to 1923 when the sport was first introduced by Father Florence Donahue. Over the years, the Saints have won many league titles with outstanding players. Their accomplishments are documented on the banners of the wall of the school gym. The 1978, 79, and 2009 teams were three of the best. Each won a Western Mass title. Although they competed in the state tournament, no St. Mary team over those 94 years has ever won a state title. But when the 2017 season began, there was an optimism among the players and coaches that maybe this year might be different. The 2017 squad included a mix of veteran seniors and juniors, along with a talented group of freshmen. Matt Collins is the dad of senior first baseman Drew Collins. He coached many of these boys in Westfield's Little League. They've played together a long time, from T-ball to Summer League to Babe Ruth.
You can have a team that has all the talent in the world, but if they don't have that team chemistry, they find it hard to win. This team had the chemistry. You know, it's a band of brothers.
These Saints are a family affair. Matt's brother Troy is the head coach. There are also two sets of brothers, shortstop Matt Mascardelli and Jack, a freshman outfielder, the Boninis, junior pitcher Nate and 8th grader Luke, and there's assistant coach Bill Lamoran's son Jack, a freshman.
Once they came together here at St. Mary's High School, it just rekindled and it established this determination that together as friends, combined with their faith and family, that they were unstoppable.
The Saints had a great 1-2 punch in Bonini and senior pitcher John Daly. Defense has been a strength all season, and the hitting, though not overpowering, was clutch. Many of the starters are three-sport athletes out of necessity, with only 50 boys in the school. Back in April, the team started strong, winning its first 8 games. With a record of 18-2, heading into the Western Mass Division IV tournament, they were seeded second, confident but not cocky. In the sectionals, the Saints shut out Pathfinder, then trounced Hopkins. At UMass, in the Western Mass final against Granby, the Saints won a close 3-2 battle. Next, there was the state semifinal against undefeated Tohoto in Worcester. St. Mary's blanked the Stags 4-0 behind Bonini's strong pitching.
And the kids, like 4 of them said, hey guys, we didn't win anything yet. We still have something we need to do.
The unfinished business was winning the state final against Eastern champ Archbishop Williams at Holy Cross's Fitton Field. In the Bishops, St. Mary faced a team with 5 times its boys' enrollment. A large contingent from Westfield came prepared to cheer on their beloved Saints. As the Saints lined up for the playing of the national anthem, they were a loose bunch.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and the hour of our death.
St. Joseph the Worker!
Pray for us!
Saints on 3! 1, 2, 3, Saints!
Senior Daly got the start in the biggest game of his high school career. Matt Mascardelli was the spark plug, igniting the offense, singling sharply to left in the first inning, and later coming around to score in the Saints' first run on a wild pitch. The Archbishop pitcher and team was rattled by the aggressive Saints running. For the game, Matt was 3 for 3 with a double, 3 runs scored, an RBI, and a stolen base. Through the first 5 innings, Daly was cruising, scattering 4 hits with no walks. Junior Jake Butler did the rest of the damage, getting 3 hits and 3 RBIs as the Saints took a 5-0 lead into the bottom of the 6th. But the Bishops did not go down without a fight and narrowed the gap to 5-3. With 2 outs, a runner on third, and tying run at the plate, Bonini caught the batter looking. In the 7th, Bonini set down the Bishops in order as the Saints players and coaches stormed the field, jumping on each other in one joyous celebration. They had accomplished their mission, a 23-2 record with its first ever state title.
I went in here thinking it was like game 1 of the season. I didn't really care how important this game was, and I just came here and did my job. We feel like brothers, and it seems like because we've known each other for so long, it's a brotherhood, and we really put on a show for people.
I almost always hit better when he's pitching because there's something about him. He tells me to get a hit, and I go up there and get a hit for him. It's just the job I do for him.
You got to go into the game relaxed. If we were tense, we were not going to win that baseball game. But we were all focused and we're relaxed going into the game. It's incredible. Coming from the school we are, it's just incredible.
You couldn't write a better script. It's mind-boggling. It really is. We're just very, very happy for the kids. They deserve this more than you would ever know.
You don't play the game on paper. You don't look at the size of the other team. You just go out there and between the lines, you play it correctly. You know, any team can beat anybody in baseball. And it's, you know, if you keep working at your craft, you perfect it. And that's what these guys did. They never, ever got too high or too low. And they just went on and did their business. It was great.
Collins said he recently lost a close friend, Kevin Halloran, the Bear.
And I'm convinced that the Bear watched over us through this whole thing, St. Mary's guy that he is. And when we needed a little bump, he was able to get it for us.
After the game, all the players, coaches, parents, and fans gathered in right field, not wanting to leave, savoring the historic moment a little bit longer. Late that night, as the team bus exited the turnpike, it was met by the Westfield police, who escorted it downtown and back to St. Mary's. The school's trophy case now has some new hardware to showcase. Coach Collins put the whole season in perspective.
This one's for all the St. Mary's guys that have come before us, that nobody believed we could do it. We're just little old St. Mary's. Well, we're state champs today.
These 2017 Saints will forever remember Fitton Field as their field of dreams on which they achieved an impossible dream season. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
Steve says the team is losing 6 seniors this year, but a strong nucleus of juniors and freshmen will return as the St. Mary's Saints aim to defend their Western Mass and state title next season. Congratulations to the Division IV state champs. And we might also mention that the school's ski team also had a championship season this year. Well, our last story by Steve today is about politics, from a period of time that was perhaps a little more civil and refined. Calvin Coolidge spent his early political life in Western Massachusetts and was governor of the Commonwealth before becoming the nation's chief executive. Not many may know that all of Coolidge's manuscripts, letters, photos, artifacts, and much more are housed at the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Library Museum, tucked away inside Northampton's Forbes Library. Steve Kiltonic visited this unique and interesting public museum and first produced this report last October.
He once said, "I have found in the course of a long public life that the things that I did not say never hurt me." It was Calvin Coolidge's frugality with words and dry Yankee wit which earned him the nickname Silent Cal while president. Born in Plymouth Notch, Vermont, Coolidge has many ties to Western Massachusetts. He graduated from Amherst College and entered law and politics in Northampton, where he worked his way up the political ladder, becoming a city councilman, a state rep, Northampton mayor, then state senator. A Republican, Coolidge served as a state lieutenant governor before being elected twice as governor of the Commonwealth. In 1920, Coolidge rose to national prominence when he served as vice president for President Warren Harding. In 1924, Coolidge was elected to his own 4-year term as president during a time of economic prosperity. As vice president, Coolidge started to donate documents and memorabilia to Northampton's Forbes Library. During his presidency, he continued to add materials to the collection, which eventually was consolidated in 1956 into the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Library and Museum. It is the only public library in the U.S. to hold a presidential collection. Julie Bartlett Nelson, the museum's archivist, said many items came to Forbes after Coolidge left Washington.
7 Army trucks come to Northampton out of the White House in 1929. 4 of them come directly to Forbes Library, full of materials.
The materials include crates of papers, manuscripts, Coolidge's White House book collection, and various gifts, such as elephant tusks from Teddy Roosevelt.
We have about 4,000 photographs. We have scrapbooks. We have papers ranging from his time as a lawyer through his governor's office, vice president, president. We have 2 bank vaults house about 200 document boxes containing about 200,000 sheets of paper, personal photographs as well, personal letters.
Coolidge, who was part Abenaki Indian, received many gifts when the entire White House and staff spent 3 months in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Included are peace pipes, purses, moccasins, and beaded bags. One of the more visible items here at the museum is this Native American headdress, which was given to Coolidge as a gift from the Sioux Nation for his signing the Indian Citizenship Act of 1926. There's also this 350-pound electric horse, which the Coolidge family used for exercise. A prized possession are the Howard Chandler Christie portraits of Coolidge and his wife Grace, which hung in the White House. Coolidge was born on July 4, 1872. His father ran a successful general store, but the family was primarily fifth-generation farmers.
I think he saw the value of, hard work, physical work. He also saw the difficult life of farming, and some years were good and some years were bad, and really trying your best to preserve what you had and keep it all going.
Faith was also an important part of Calvin's early years.
The church they attend is the Union Christian Church. It's directly across the street from his house, so right outside his front door. They were very active and involved in that, but definitely, Faith was a big influencer in decision-making for him.
At 12, Coolidge lost his mother and a few years later his older sister, Abigail. His father, who also served in the Vermont Senate, pushed him to succeed. Coolidge received a degree in classics from Amherst College, where he excelled on the debate team. After college, Coolidge moved to Northampton, where he clerked at the law firm Hammond & Fields. They serve as mentors, steering Calvin to get involved in local politics. Coolidge became lieutenant governor, then governor of Massachusetts in 1919. His response during the Boston police strike gets him national attention. In 1920, he became the running mate for presidential candidate Warren Harding. In Northampton, on Notification Day, 15,000 turn out for a parade. The Harding-Coolidge ticket easily wins the general election. It's the decade of the Roaring '20s, of flappers, prohibition, automobiles, and the Charleston. In 1923, Harding becomes ill and dies in San Francisco. Coolidge was on vacation in Plymouth Notch with his family when he received the news.
It's 2 o'clock in the morning. He's woken up with a knock on the door to deliver the telegram, and his father, who was a notary and a state official, swore him in a candlelight ceremony in the living room.
The Coolidge years are marked by strong economy, reduced taxes, balanced budgets, a scandal-free White House, and progress made in civil rights. In the 1920s, Coolidge took advantage of an explosion in technology.
He's the first president to really use the radio. His 1925 inauguration speech is broadcast nationally on the radio, so he's the first president you could hear in your living room giving speeches.
The media starts to call Coolidge Silent Cal for his quiet demeanor.
So he does give more press conferences per number of days in office than any other president, but they are short, they're efficient.
While on the campaign trail, Coolidge's youngest son, Calvin Jr., died of sepsis from an infected blister.
He does say in his autobiography that when his son died, the glory of the presidency died that day. It definitely takes a huge toll on both Calvin and Grace and their older son, John.
A popular president, Coolidge decided not to seek a second term, which many believe he could have won easily.
He gives a handwritten slip of paper to the newspaper reporters who were sort of on scene during a summer vacation, and he just handwrites, "I will not run in 1928. No comments, no press conference, that's it."
In 1929, Coolidge and Grace returned to Northampton to their home on Massasoit Street. Calvin maintained a law office space, gave speeches, wrote a syndicated newspaper column, and enjoys a quiet retirement. In 1932, he gives a speech for Republican Herbert Hoover in his last public appearance. Before his death in January 1933, Coolidge confides to a friend, "I feel I no longer fit in with these times." Lately, researchers, biographers, and historians have revisited Coolidge and his presidency and are rethinking the legacy of this reserved and introspective politician.
He was seen as very sort of honest, loyal, trustworthy. You see a lot of people crossing party lines and voting for him because they respected him, and he was a good businessman.
Perhaps the lesson Coolidge has for today's political leaders is that the values of civility and integrity never go out of style, no matter what party one may belong to. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
If you would like to visit the Coolidge Presidential Library Museum to learn more about Calvin Coolidge's public and private life story, we have all the information at iobserve.org. And for this week, that's Real to Real. Thanks for watching. As always, to keep up with all of the latest news on the Catholic Church, both here in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world, check out our news and information website, iobserve.org. There you can also watch past episodes of Real to Real as well as segments which appeared on today's program. That's iobserve.org. And remember, you can also friend us on Facebook. We are at Catholic Communications. I will see you right back here next week for another summer best of edition of Real to Real, your window on the world around you.
Real to Real is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.